Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Shock and Awe podcast, arguably the most dangerous commentary show on Beyonce's internet. I am your host, Mr. Robbie Hollywood, and what a show we got for you today. Woo! The black community is in a chokehold over a debate whether or not we should be celebrating such holidays as July 4th or Canada Day. Some are going as far as demanding the total and complete cancellation of all cookouts. A pride march in New York City erupts in a strange hymn, yet we're being told by the mainstream media that there is nothing to see here. And finally, 3 weeks after the implosion of the Titan Submersible that claimed 5 lives, including a father and a son, and the jokes are still rolling on social media. And in conclusion, our goofy of the week this week is a true master of the universe. Find out who and much more on this week's episode of the Shock and Awe podcast. So, there is this raging debate in the black community around this time of the year on whether we should or should not celebrate such holidays as Canada Day or July 4th. And some of the prominent members of the black community, like the illustrious Dr. Umar Johnson, goes as far as calling it the oppressor's day of freedom. So here is a clip dating back to 2021 where the good doctor is sharing his thoughts on the matter. Run the receipts, Jesse.
July 4th, 2021, I better not catch a Negro celebrating it. July 4th, 2021, we are not playing. The Goonie Goon Goons, the Ski Mask Club, we better not see no cookouts. We better not see no celebrations. We better not see no red, white, and blue flags. I better not catch one of you coons celebrating your oppressor's freedom. I better not. I better not. I better not catch a coon on July 4th celebrating this slave master's freedom. I better not. We're not having it this year. We have to give up this American citizenship, and we must now identify as Africans. Africans in America. That's who we are. We are a nation of Africans.
What I'm gonna have you do is come for the cookouts. The cookout has not only been a friend, but a sanctuary to the black community for hundreds of years. They were here before you. They'll be here long after you're gone. You are overstepping your bounds. What do you have against hot dogs, sir? You won't eat a burger because of slavery? You sound hungry and ridiculous. Now, here's a little tidbit of advice about this whole Africa talk from someone who was not only born there, but also lived the majority of his life there. You don't have what it takes to survive in most of Africa. Don't let these Igbo and Shayo fool you. Ain't shit sweet on 90% of the continent. They're throwing homosexuals off of roofs in Uganda, Dr. Umar. Uganda is not Wakanda. You're confused. You call yourself a revolutionary. But here is the thing. We don't like revolutionaries in Africa. We call them rebels. And they're always bad news. See, the only reason why you can speak truth to power, be a revolutionary, is because of those same freedoms you're refusing to celebrate. Because where I come from, speaking ill of the state is an act of terrorism punishable by banishment. Poof, just like that. in the dead of the night. Viva la revolution. So if you intend to continue on this path of revolution once you get to Africa, you're going to need at least 2,500 child soldiers and a corresponding number of AK-47s. Now, lucky for you, Victor Boot is out of jail and business is booming again. You want to go back to Africa? We got mosquitoes the size of cows, Dr. Umar. You don't have the necessary antibodies to survive malaria, sir. This is a suicide mission. What? You think what? All these thousands of people drowning in the Mediterranean every year are leaving a utopia behind to come be under the white man's thumb? We still got slaves, Dr. Umar. There was no Emancipation Proclamation in the Congo, sir. There is brothers in chains right now digging for the lithium inside the iPhone you're getting so sassy on. See, at least you and I can find common ground here. Because when it comes to slavery, I am just as mad as you are that white people beat us to the punch. Because let's tell the truth. If you and I had invented the sailboat or the firearm before they did, there will be gingers picking cotton in Botswana to this day. Why, you think we're the only group of people immune to the taste of the sweet nectar of free labor? You are a child. So yes, Dr. Umar, you will eat a glizzy and wash it down with the bud this July 4th. And when Beyonce's Before I Let Go comes on, you will dance like the true American patriot you are, sir. Absolutely preposterous. Moving on. So there is this video making the rounds on social media about these marchers at a New York City Pride Parade chanting that they're here, that they're queer, nothing wrong with it, and that they are coming for your children. You don't believe me? Just see the receipts, if you will.
We're coming for your children. We're not for your children. We're here. We're queer. We're not for your children. We're here. We're queer. We're not.
Now, what you just saw with your own eyes and heard with your own ears is a gang of people, each with titties who have differing relationships with gravity. Some good, some not so good. Look you dead in the eye and tell you that they're here and that they're queer and that they're coming for your children. Now, here is how the truth harbingers at NBC decided to spin this little Catalina wine mixer. A gentleman by the name of Tyler Kincaid writes, and I quote, "Over the weekend, a short video circulated widely on social media of an unidentified person at a New York City march during Pride festivities saying that we're coming for your children." We're not even one chapter into the article, and the company's meter is already at DEFCON 1. Mr. Kincaid here is telling us not to believe our lying eyes, that it was just only one person. But you know what? For the benefit of the doubt, run the receipts one more time, Jesse.
We're coming for for your children. We're queer, we're not going shopping. We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping. We're here, we're queer, we're not.
One person, eh? But let's carry on. In a 21-second clip, Mr. Kincaid writes, that was circulated by a right-wing web streamer channel, dozens of people march in the streets and are clearly heard chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping." But one voice that is louder than the crowd, and it's not clear whose, or whether that speaker was a member of the LGBTQ community, is heard saying at least twice that we're here, that we're queer, that we're coming for your children. Ah! I get it. It was a false flag operation. Oh, God. What was I thinking? But how exactly did that happen, Mr. Kincaid? Did a neo-Nazi Trump supporter infiltrate the Pride Parade March? And through a series of incantations, spellbound all the attendees into singing a pedophile hymn against their will. That's the story that you're going with? Then case dismissed. There is nothing to see here. You jabroni. Mr. Kincaid continues. To conservative pundits, activists, and lawmakers, this confirmed allegations they've levied in recent years that the LGBTQ community is grooming children. But to Brian Griffin, the original organizer of the New York City Drag March, if that's the worst they heard, it's only because he wasn't there this year. Griffin said that he chanted obscene things in the past, like "kill, kill, we're coming to kill the mayor," and joked about pubic hair and sex toys during marches. People at the drag march regularly sing "God is a lesbian." It's all just words, Griffin said. It's all presented to fulfill their worst stereotype of us. Oh! Well, thank you for the clarification. It was just a joke thing. Guys, they were never coming for your children. It was all said in jest. Absolutely hilarious. But here's a little bit of a cliff note about that whole joke business. It seems as though these jokes only go one way. Because according to you, it's completely fine to joke about coming for our children. But if I crack a joke about that dick below your dress, suddenly I'm committing genocide and YouTube is demonetizing me. I'm confused. I need some clarifications. Are we or are we not kikiing? But you know what? Why don't you go ahead and tell me some more of those jokes? Just see if you will.
Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protest. Oh, and you'll be disgusted. So gross. When they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight. We'll convert your children.
First of all, everyone in those quadrants should have their door kicked in by the FBI and their hard drives scrubbed forensically. This whole thing is giving art imitating life vibes, and I don't like it. You won't know where your children go at night. They'll be exposed to things you don't want them to see. And that's funny to you? See, here is the reason why people get so upset with this kind of rhetoric or jokes, as you so eloquently put it. is because you pulled a reverse Uno card on the rest of us. See, you chose a lifestyle that makes it impossible for you to bear your own children. If you are going around chanting, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for our children, I will sleep a little bit easier at night. Now, do I feel bad for the kids? Of course. Is it tragic? Absolutely. But that is CPS's business. I pay my taxes so I don't have to hear about it. But when the only kids in the pot are ours, now the stakes are exponentially raised. And we no longer find your little jokes very funny. You are a ridiculous and preposterous man, Mr. Kincaid. Moving on. It marks 3 weeks since the Titan Submersible went down due to an implosion, taking the lives of all 5 people that were on board. Now, a notable part of this whole tragedy, though, has been the reaction across all social media platforms to this whole entire endeavor. Reactions like this one. Jesse, if you would be so kind.
Hey, Hooches and Hunters. We about to start a new series called Bitch in My Bonnet, where I bitch about stuff that's going on in the world that has made me itch in my bonnet. And the first situation we're going to talk about is this goddamn submarine or submersible, whatever the hell she called. So if you ain't up to date, let me go ahead and give you this. It's a group of people. I think they all rich, maybe like 5 of them. They paid $250,000 to get into this little ass torpedo that is going 12,000 feet underwater. Why, you may ask? Because they wanted to see the Titanic wreckage. The wreckage that we have all seen via YouTube. They got in this goddamn thing. It ain't been tested. The waiver that they signed mentioned death 3 times on the first page. Sound like a bad idea to me, but who knows? I don't have $250,000 to just throw the fuck away. So they sign these waivers, get into this piece of shit, and now they're missing. Don't nobody know where they at. And then on top of all of that, they got into this goddamn thing and it's bolted from the outside. So even if this thing somehow happens to like pop up from somewhere, they ain't even gonna be able to get out. Imagine having $250,000 of disposable income and you decide to do some shit like that. G.O.D., let me tell you something right now. If you ever decide to bless me with some money like that, I promise I will never be a fool. And then to make it all worse, it ain't even no window on the thing. It ain't no window on this machine. So they'll be looking at it from a screen. They could have done that on land. And the little machine is being controlled by a game controller. Being controlled by boy. I don't know.
First things first, I would be remiss if I didn't start off by addressing the elephant in the room. And that is the itch in your bonnet. Now, personally for me, although I am in a glorious relationship with the Black Queen, I never understood the appeal of going to bed looking like a French line cook. But that's neither here nor there. Ma'am, I highly doubt world current events are the reason behind the itch in your bonnet. The truth is, dandruff is a silent killer, and frankly, you should look into dry shampoo expeditiously. Now, I want to unpack some of the points that you made in this rather contemptuous attempt at an opinion piece. Would I personally adventure to the bottom of the ocean inside a tuna can piloted with the aid of a GameCube controller? I don't think so. But that's also because I'm a coward. My idea of a thrill-seeking afternoon is watching the Mission Impossible movies with a Klondike bar in my hand because in this life, I only kneel to God and IBS. We all got our monsters. But that is the reason why I have such profound admiration for people who are able to take such enormous risks that are unpalatable to the average human being or their bonnet. Nothing you see around you in this world will be here if it wasn't for eccentric men and women who are willing to put life and limb on the line in the name of exploration. They said like 250 people total have ever been down to the wreckage of the Titanic. There is nowhere in this world that you have been that only 250 people have been in total. Unless, of course, we're talking about the 250 bodies on your whole facts report. But again, neither here nor there. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do of the bottom of the ocean. Something like 80% of the ocean floor is unexplored. And I know what a lot of you are going to say, oh, no, Robbie, these were not explorers. They were just rich people on vacation. And that right there, I think, is the true beef that you guys have with this whole entire situation. Is the fact that they were rich, right? You called it a waste of money. But see, the problem is your idea of $250,000 and the billionaire's idea of $250,000 are vastly different. You're looking at this from your poverty-colored lenses. Hunger and need are obstructing your vision, man. You know what's a waste of money? Is you spending $17 on Starbucks while having $135 in your checking account. You just spent 35% of your net worth on a cup of Java and a muffin. You are fiscally irresponsible and absolutely preposterous. Moving on. In the news this week was the not guilty verdict in the trial of Scott Peterson. For those of you who don't know who Scott Peterson is, he was the school resource officer at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. This school was the scene of a mass shooting back in 2018 perpetrated by a former student at a school named Nicholas Cruz. Nicholas took the lives of 17 people and injured another 17. Scott is accused of hiding instead of doing his job as a sworn sheriff deputy in a Broward County office and a school resource officer. But see, I can't help but think that my real beef with this whole entire story is with whoever was in charge of human resources in the Broward County Sheriff's Office at that time. Man, yes, I'm going to assume your gender because there is no such thing as a real man that works in HR. You're telling me that out of all the graduates in the academy that managed to run an obstacle course, then get handed a gun and a badge and the faith of the republic, this is the best you could come up with to protect children? The man looks like a Cocker Spaniel in a suit. You're bad at your job and you should be dragged off to jail for criminal incompetence. You, ma'am, have blood on your hands. We seriously, as a society, need to redefine the meaning of security. The uniform will no longer be enough. I am tired of moving into condo buildings and the landlord telling me that he has security at the front desk for me to later on find out that his idea of security is a sleepy, skinny Indian kid always doing his homework. Pradeep is barely equipped to handle a psycho ex-girlfriend trying to make it up to my unit. He's gonna handle a mass shooter? You, sir, are a scoundrel and a slumlord, and I want my deposit back. But at the end of the day, Mr. Scott got found not guilty. And frankly speaking, if I'm being honest, if I was on that jury, I'd have probably voted the same exact way. Because what is the penalty for cowardice? The American justice system claims that you are judged by a jury of your peers. Now, my question is, in that entire jury pool, how many people, if given the choice between running into the line of fire of an AR-15 and hiding to save their own ass, would in their best Bernie Mac impression be like, you know what? F them kids. Those are the preposterous questions that keep me up at night. Moving on. Trophy of the week this week goes to none other than Hunter Biden, son of Joe Biden and convicted felon. The news media was in a frenzy this week because Hunter attended the state dinner for Prime Minister Modi of India. And this was following his recent conviction for tax evasion. Here is a report from NBC. Hit it, Jesse.
The state dinner at the White House honoring India's prime minister was ripe for potential discomfort.
It should be an interesting dinner.
Hunter Biden was on the guest list, arriving by trolley with his wife.
Hunter, how do you feel after taking the plea deal?
Hunter recently agreed to plead guilty to 2 tax-related misdemeanors and enter into an agreement to resolve a gun charge. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy called it a sweetheart deal, though he avoided the subject at last night's dinner.
Yes.
About having dinner tonight with Hunter Biden and Mark Garland.
Look, I'm looking forward to taking my daughter-in-law for the very first time to the White House and to the state dinner.
Reporters described the president's son as being at ease, shaking hands and chatting. The dinner came just hours after Republicans released transcripts of their interviews with 2 whistleblowers at the IRS, who claimed the Justice Department granted Hunter Biden preferential treatment. According to the transcripts, the whistleblowers claimed some investigators pushed for Hunter to face felony charges, and they claimed senior Justice Department officials blocked prosecutors' attempts to bring charges against Hunter in Washington and California. But the DOJ is pushing back, saying the Trump-appointed prosecutor had full authority over the case, including when and where to bring charges.
Now, what that report omitted to mention is that aside from being a tax cheat, Hunter Biden has had a long and loving relationship with sweet, sweet Lady Cocaine. Woo! The boy has a Roomba for a nose. And that right there is what shows me that Joe Biden does not have any real black people around him. Because any black person with an addict in a family knows that you do not invite your crackhead cousin to the family cookout, because that's a surefire way to ensure that all the good silverware is missing before the chicken is even off the grill. And lo and behold, Joe Biden's crackhead chickens did come home to roost. Jesse, if you will be so kind.
The Associated Press reports that a white powdery substance, which forced an emergency shutdown and an evacuation at the White House Sunday, was in fact cocaine. Law enforcement sources told the Associated Press the cocaine identification came from a preliminary test. The Secret Service and the Biden administration have not commented on that update of the cocaine being found in the White House. Reports say while doing return rounds, Secret Service agents found the cocaine inside a work area of the West Wing, which houses the Oval Office and offices of the president's top aides and support staff. The president and members of his family were at Camp David when the discovery was made.
Now, in all fairness to Hunter Biden, I mean, who amongst us has never done a tootski or two at a company Christmas party in order to make a boring conversation with Betty from accounting a little bit more palatable? That's just good table manners. But you don't lose your nose beards on the White House grounds this close to an election, man. That's a junkie mistake. And I don't like the way Fox is trying to spin this, talking about, oh, the family was at Camp David when the bag was discovered. No. We're going to need to see all the surveillance footage from that night. We're looking for Hunter Biden in the middle of accepting yet another job from a Ukrainian gas company, suddenly beginning to violently pat himself because he just realized that his booger sugar is missing. Yes, Joe, he is discombobulated and in need of a bump. And Joe, I better not see you on that debate stage talking about, oh, he wasn't actually looking for drugs. He was merely stomping the ground in solidarity with HBCUs. No, sir. Black people will not be bailing you out of this one. You should have known better. But I also have to look at this from Hunter Biden's perspective. I mean, do any of us really know what it's like to be the son of the most powerful man in the world? Seriously, how would you know? Your dad is a dentist. You're nothing. We're talking about a man who grew up in the halls of power. Real power. The kind of power that can shatter a nation. Rubbing shoulders with the who's who's of this world ever since he was a child. Why would he not film himself bucking rails off the tits of expensive hookers? This man doesn't live by your peasant rules. Tossing a 9mm in a garbage can outside a kindergarten, that's exactly what it sounds like. Child's play. How dare you question what was ordained by God? This is a man who gets paid untold sums of money for jobs he is chronically unqualified for, all because he's peddling his father's influence, which is highly illegal. And when he gets caught, does he go to jail? No, jail is for you. You're poor. Instead, he writes a book and picks up painting at a tender age of 56. And he becomes so good at it in a matter of weeks that his paintings begin to sell for $500,000 a piece to people who want to become friends with his dad. And once the waters settle after a slight slap on the wrist, he bucks a fat Hollywood off a porn star's tits and goes back to work like the true master of the universe he is. Absolutely preposterous. And that'll do it for the show this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the love. Please don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. And also press that bell notification button so you know when we're uploading new content. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers before October. It is a lofty goal, but we can't do it without you. And until next week, stay positive.